It was announced this morning through anonymous Trump circle people that he's apparently going to be launching his bid for the presidency like less than 1 week after the midterm elections. And there's probably a few reasons that he wants to do that, but I would assume that chief amongst those is the ability to say if any indictments come his way, if any investigations continue, hey, hands off, get off my back. I'm a candidate for office. It's a nice shield. Doesn't make any sense that it should be, but that is traditionally how it's considered. And bear in mind that apparently Justice Department officials have discussed whether a Trump candidacy would create the need for a special counsel to oversee 2 of the many investigations. These are the federal investigations looking into him. They've been talking with CNN about this. They've apparently also been staffing up their investigations with experienced prosecutors so that they're ready for any decisions about possible indictments soon after the midterms. So he's saying, well, not him directly, but that'll come in like a day. His people are saying November 14th is when he would announce, which is historically very early to announce that you're running for the presidency, especially if you're not a very low tier candidate just hoping to get out in front and get a little bit of easy press when there's no competition. For a high profile politician to announce that early is very weird. Anyway, the federal investigators apparently are considering moving on a number of different investigations in the weeks after the midterms. They could, in theory, do it before the midterms, but you can't do that because that could influence the election. And soon you can't do it after because now he's a candidate for the election. There's a lot of like fake norm shields, Brett, and this might well be one of his most effective going forward. We'll see.
So when it comes to holding the powerful legally accountable for anything, you must understand the difference between Newtonian and quantum physics. We live in the Newtonian real world, where there are very basic laws that govern the behavior and consequences of actions. So you, in the same way that if you drop something from 4 feet up and you know it's elasticity, you know how high it's gonna bounce. You know that if you rob someone, you're gonna get prosecuted and go to jail for it, because we are just normal people in the real Newtonian world. But when it comes to people in power, suddenly the rules of quantum apply, sort of, kind of. And if anyone knows about that, when you're on, you can try to bring the powerful into the real world, but there are all these weird things that don't happen. And let me explain what those are. Those things are norms. We call those like these weird quasi norms that John's talking about. Those are all the times when we try to find a way to apply things that everyone in the world knows about and can identify with to the powerful who do not abide by those rules on a regular basis. And so that's what I think the special counsel people are trying to figure out. How can we get him on an actual crime? And that's what people like Trump are trying to avoid with all these weird tricks and invoking norms like you can't lock up your political prisoners or your political opponents. You just can't do that. That's what they do in third world countries, and they'll say words like third world. But in this situation, what if he is committing crimes? What am I supposed to do? You're just telling me not to lock up a lawbreaker. And that's they try to say, oh my God, let's preserve these norms. At the same time, that same guy has torn down so many of them, and people like him because he tears down norms like that. Why can't I tear down the norm? Like
exactly.
Let that protect him.
Yeah, it is a norm to not investigate your political opponents, but it's also a norm to not try to overturn the results of an election. It's a norm to not try to overthrow the US government. I would argue that's a worse norm to break. But one of the reasons this is an effective defense, at least insofar as his base is concerned, is what I just did right there, pointing out that, well, yeah, you're not supposed to investigate these people, but what if they've committed a real crime? Everyone who has wanted to investigate their opponents in the absence of a crime is of course going to say that there's a crime. So you can make a case that that's what I'm doing, which is effective to their base. Now, I would say that I'm actually coming with evidence of actual crimes, or at least I am knowledgeable of the evidence of actual crimes, but there's just enough of a muddying of the waters that his supporters will never accept any of this. Even though, bear in mind, as you were pointing out, they would refuse to accept that he's committed any of these crimes or is responsible for any of these things, even though at the exact same time, his fans love that he did all of these things. But he definitely shouldn't be investigated for them. So anyway, look, Merrick Garland has been spending months and months and months trying to decide if they should move on this. He works at about the same rate as George R.R. Martin at this point. Maybe he'll decide to do something about it, I don't know.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.